The War Within pre-patch is here, and you have no idea what to play, don't you? Well, you're in luck because Flame and Marcelian are making a tier list on mains and alts, and nah.
Yeah, because it's going to be fully subjective since everybody has difficulties picking mains and alts, and we're gonna make it easier for you by you watching our opinions on our mains and alts separately for 2 separate tier lists. Revolutionary, a tier list within a tier list within a tier list video.
Yes, now let's start it off with Affliction Warlock. And this is one spec that has gone through a roller coaster ride. Well, I guess all Warlock specs got through roller coaster rides with changes, reverts, and then changes again, reworks. I think overall, for me, Affliction is still not hitting the mark just yet, so I'm gonna put it in nah. Again, we are looking at all the specs, guys. This doesn't mean that we hate any of these specs. Some of them we do. But we'll get to that in a second.
You can only main and alt so many specs.
Yes.
And for me, actually, it's going to be as an alt. Right now, Affliction is one of the winners.
You love it.
It's one of the winners of the Warlock class. Actually, the winner of the Warlock tree. Pretty much everybody's playing Affliction. It's great. I cannot wait to actually play it as an alt.
Beautiful. What's next then?
Well, next is actually our Patreon platform who are supporting the type of content that we do and also are an inspiration for us to be able to do this kind of stuff because we know our patrons have been saying, you know, we loved it when you guys used to do 2 things, but now we're trying to put that vision in.
This is a direct feedback from the discussions we had with patrons during the years. So here it is. It's back. Who knows how many times we're going to do this, but hey, check out patreon.com/Marcelian online and join the team. That way you get access to a lot of exclusive stuff like Patreon podcasts,
4K wallpapers with your character tuned in.
4K wallpapers made by yours truly. You can see some of them on the screen right now. But not only that, it's also like early access videos without no ads and no sponsors over there. Just, you know, the plain video because, you know, you have to live in some way to make this happen. But we're grateful for every one of the patrons. If you decide to join or not, it doesn't really matter. We just make and do for our duty and tell you about our Patreon platform because it's really great. Check it out, patreon.com/Marcelian online. Click it in the description. Did I say click it?
Yes, you clicked it right. And now we can click on Arcane because that's the next spec. I'm gonna let you say your piece on Arcane.
Man, I was watching you play Arcane and it looks so juicy. And I know a lot of people are gonna say like, yeah, because it's because of the damage. Because the damage, you want to be mad at damage. No, it just looks fun as hell. And I'm happy that it's more simplified. I believe Arcane in the past was a little bit too much. So this is definitely a contender for me as an alt. I always play a mage spec in every expansion. I was going to
recommend you to just try it as an alt just to see how it is. Yes, it's really good. Obviously, for me, it's one of my mains. Because they just did it right, man. With Arcane, we've had conversations about talent diversity, gameplay, like what makes a spec really fun and really great. Arcane doesn't have that much talent diversity, but what it has, it just does it right. And everybody has been complaining about, but we don't have animations and spell effects with the hero talents. Well, listen, Spellslinger Arcane just explodes. It's like a disco, man. It's really cool.
Yeah, visuals are very important when we're choosing mains as well, believe it or not, mains and alts. And, you know, if you're going to have it, it's going to be a big factor.
For sure.
Next
up is Arms Warrior, and I've been saying a bunch of stuff about it. So it's going in nah for you then.
Nah. Listen, man, I loved Arms Warrior for the longest time. I just don't see it happening in the War Within. I don't like what they did with the whole revamp of it, and
it feels off.
So
it feels like
hollow.
It's missing something.
Yeah, it's hollow. It doesn't have that strong identity. So nah. It's a nah.
It's a nah for both. I mean, it needs a lot of work before it can get back to it. But Assassination...
well, Assassination, for me, it's still, as I'm like a Rogue main and a Paladin main, and we'll see other mains. But for the longest time, I played Paladin and Rogue. That was always my jam. And I used to play a lot of Assassination back in the day, but I didn't really feel it that much. And this is, I know it's stupid, but this is mainly because Mythic Plus. I always find it very hard in Mythic Plus and not that rewarding. I love the rework, what they did with it in Dragonflight. All of the additions were great. Rogue as a whole is pretty problematic on the War Within right now with a lot of bugs. The hero talent is not that great. So for me, for now, Assassination is a nah.
Okay. I was gonna say the same thing because I love Assassination mostly in AoE. It has some of the most engaging and complex ways of doing damage, and it has all the things that I like of an AoE spec, where you can do priority damage and split AoE damage. It has the things that I love about Feral that are gone now for Feral, so Assassination still can do it, but it's missing some key tuning to make it feel rewarding because you just have to work too much to gain very little that, you know, Outlaw just gets, you know, by just being out.
Not gonna comment on Outlaw, not yet. Not yet.
But I really want it to be an alt for me, yeah, for sure.
Right,
next up, a Balanced Druid.
Are you gonna make me talk about Balanced Druid? Listen, I've seen videos from Boomkin players complaining about Boomkin. Well, let me tell you something. Boomkin mains always complain about Boomkin until they get the spec buffed out of their teeth. That's one thing. That's facts. But for me, it's a nah. And I think everybody knows I really don't like Boomkin. It has to be some sort of a big-ass rework to get me into looking at that. I know there's the
probably
glyph
like
of stars.
visual, right? Because you have.
Yeah, I know the glyph of stars that can be used.
You want to be a druid. You're a druid.
Yeah, I really want to love Boomkin. I'm waiting for Blizzard to give me the chance. But for now, nah.
Yeah, the concept is really cool. It's actually for the first time a nah for me as well, because we always.
No way.
We always vibe differently on Boomkin, but it's the same situation as ARMS. Like whatever they're doing, I just don't feel it. So it's just I don't get it. Do they get it? Because it doesn't feel like it.
How can you get a galactic chicken of abomination with feathers and looking at the moon and dropping stars? That's moving along.
Moving along to Beastmaster. You want to go or should I go?
I can go Beastmaster. I tried it for the first time. Not the first time, but for a very long time in Dragonflight, and I enjoyed it. And I've seen good things about it in the War Within as well. Nothing, I wouldn't say, I don't want to insult the BM players. So it's a simple spec, but it's fun. And I like that. If it's not going to make me have a moment of brain rot, just, you know, sitting there and clicking two buttons,
actually,
that's fine.
not as much anymore.
Not as much. I know. So for me, it's definitely an alt, a potential alt for sure.
For me, it's the rework is actually doing really great things for BM. Where I actually think it's way more complex than Ret potentially.
The fuck you talking about?
I have a big problem with hunters, and you'll probably see this trend throughout the rest of the tier list. The hero talents are just big losers, and unfortunately, Beast Mastery is the loser in terms of hero talents because the only good hero talent that's good for Hunter is Sentinel, and BM is not a Sentinel. So for me, unfortunately, it's going to be a nah until they revamp and make a Dark Ranger, the one that they're selling this whole hero talents with, an actual good hero talent tree.
For sure. All right, what's next?
Blood Death Knight.
Okay, Blood Death Knight. So this is like one of like... So I played Prot Paladin, I played a little bit Prot Warrior, I played Vengeance, Demon Hunter, I played Bear, yes. And for the first time in my life, I played Blood Death Knight in Dragonflight, and I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
I've played, well, I haven't played with them. I just tested on Target Dummy on the beta, and I kind of love it. This is, well, I'm not a main tank, but if the situation were to occur, what I would be asked to be a main tank, Blood would be my go-to. So you can put it in main for me.
Oh, main. Oh, damn. That's really great.
But only in the situation that I would be asked for. So, okay, we need a tank. This you're the only one we got.
It's right there. I mean, the main might, you know, we're going to get to that eventually. Blood for me is going to be a definite alt. Even after all of the re-nerfs, they're not that bad, actually. They're actually making Blood feel way better if you play it right, which was kind of always a thing, but it was very abstract. Now it's very clear. If you fuck up with Blood, you know why you fucked up, and I think this is a good thing to make Blood just play better.
And your healer will know you fucked up.
Yeah. All day ever.
So Blood is one of those tanks that I feel is like the gameplay is so rewarding in the sense that they're so dependent on yourself, and as you mentioned it, if you die, you know it's probably your fault. I just love
now more than ever.
Yeah, I just love a super sustaining tank, right? If it's on me to keep myself alive like all of the time, I kind of love it.
It gives you a sense of authority over yourself. Okay, Brewmaster Monk.
Brewmaster Monk, it's, oh man, I'm so scared of this spec. Whenever I look at it and whenever I see all of the, because this is the thing, you have specs that have button bloats, quote unquote, right? But Brewmaster always kind of made use out of all of them. And for me, it's like, okay, I love a complex spec, and usually I look for that in a DPS or whatever. But when it comes to tanking, it's a whole other different responsibility. So for me, it's going to be a nah, because I'm scared of it.
Okay, for me, it's definitely going to be an alt. They've definitely toned down the bloat that I did not like about Brewmaster with Rushing Jade Wind. Thank God! It's missing a bunch of stuff. It's not obviously not going to be a main, but I'm going to be enjoying Brewmaster a lot in the War Within.
Beautiful. Next.
Demonology Warlock.
Well, again, this is the first Warlock spec I would consider to be an alt, because listen, for the longest time I've neglected this spec, and I am just in love with the theme of it, like just summoning demons all around. It's not that spec that I tested at all, and this is one of those specs that I just would like to be surprised by when I try it for the yes. So it's definitely an alt. We'll see during the course of the War Within, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Demonology is better now, and I also liked it as well. I'm a little bit salty, and I think my saltiness is a little bit too biased with how Doom has evolved. I think it's probably going to be better, and is definitely going to make it as an alt for me as well. Sometime later, though, in the expansion pack. I'm not in a rush because I do want to enjoy my Affliction first of all.
Demonology less than Affliction.
Less,
for you.
yeah. No, Affliction is definitely the first one I'm going to go get into.
Okay.
And let's round it up with Warlock with Destruction.
Oh, Destruction, definitely an alt for me. So for me, it's even in front of Demonology.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because if there's one thing I love is big chaos bolts and rain of fires everywhere.
Rain of fires for days.
Yes,
and
I like it.
Hopefully they keep that playstyle, because that's what I love as well. Knowing that you can scale infinitely in AoE, and the more targets you have, the more rain of fires, and you just don't have enough buttons to press. That's fun. That doesn't happen often. And they've done some pretty good things with the Demonology Destruction talent tree. The hero talents are just delish.
They're, as we say in our native tongue, Jujuka. Next
is Devastation Evoker.
No fucking way, not ever. And okay, I'm gonna make my case here once again. I know the spec is really fun. I know everything about Evoker in general is really, really cool, and they made some really nice synergies between abilities and talents and combos and all of that. I know all about that. I just cannot look at that disgusting gecko abomination of a being. No, I'm sorry. No, for me, no.
I have like similar opinions about the aesthetic of it. It definitely takes away from my engagement with an actual dragon. I will put it in front of a lot of the NAS specs, because I just there are too many alts to get into, and I would probably enjoy playing Devastation, but I just, will want to get into a lot of other stuff before I get to Devastation.
Kill it.
Discipline Priest.
Definitely the first choice in the alt department, because
I'll put it in front here.
Yeah, I play Discipline Priest as the spec of choice when it comes to healing all my life. And I love the iteration on the War Within. I think Void Weaver is a blast, and I feel it's a little bit broken in how fast you get access to, like, big damaging abilities to heal up everybody.
Hold on. Don't you think that Discipline needs nerfs, because it needs buffs?
I'm not gonna come.
But the gameplay is like stellar.
Dude, I mean, you were talking about earlier, like hero talents, visuals. This is one of the specs that gets the visuals, and it delivers on that fantasy. And I just feel like if you understand Discipline Priest, so it doesn't really change that much going in from Dragonflight to the War Within. Hero talents will change your playstyle a bit, but it's still the same old concept. Like, maintain your Purge the Wickeds, your attunements, and blast off damage all around to keep healing, right? And this is, for me, this is one of the coolest mechanics done right for a healer ever. Hard to balance.
I think when you say discipline, and when I say discipline, we're gonna say the same thing, and that is Void Weaver as well.
Yeah, Void Weaver.
Because Oracle is blah. I will actually put my discipline in front of the Warlock specs, because it is one of the healers that I've really enjoyed as an alt, and I really want to play more of the Shadow Holy duality, especially in, well, not really an expansion, but in a World Soul Saga themed around the duality between Holy and Shadow, and Discipline is just gonna bring that to the table.
There's a lot of Void everywhere, and you want to have some Void-related classes,
Void Weaver is just so good. All right,
what's next?
Elemental Shaman.
Ooh, Elemental Shaman. Well, see, you played Elemental Shaman, and you mentioned that, listen, Elemental is back to being that spec that we used to know, which is a little bit hard to pull off, but man, does it kick ass. So for me, It would definitely be a potential alt because I'm very interested in getting. I never got into it back in BFA when you used to play it a lot.
Yeah.
And I was always like, it was always fun to watch and try to understand what was happening over there. This time around, like with everything that's happening with all of the reworks for the shamans and all of that, I feel I am ready to try it out as an alt.
This is essentially, if you play the Stormbringer, essentially ACDC Thunderstruck.
Yeah,
you have to have that in the background, and actually Elemental goes into the front of my alt list. It's one of the first alts I will play eventually because I love lightnings all around the place, and I've loved what they've done with the Shaman so far. Enhancement is just a little bit around the corner, and we're going to get to that in a second, but Elemental is definitely everything that I like visually about a Shaman. Lightning, lightning rods, earthquakes, sounds of rocks splitting, that's the dream.
Was always the case for Shamans, man.
And speaking of Enhancement, baby.
Enhancement, baby. Well, I'm going to put this into Na because out of the two specs, so listen, this doesn't mean I don't like Enhancement. I'm very attracted to it, especially because it's a melee spec, and boy, does it look like and sound fantastic. Same arguments as Elemental. Sure. However, if I'm gonna like open up my Shaman again, I'm gonna go Elemental this time.
That's very ambitious.
I'm gonna play a lot of melees, and I have to choose very carefully which specs I'm gonna play for range. So Enhancement for me is gonna be not, but just because I'm choosing Elemental, not because I don't like it.
For sure. Enhancement is definitely going to be the top of my alt list. I don't know if it's going to be in front or behind. I'm usually normally an Enhancement Shaman, but I am a big fan of Shaman altogether. It was very close to making it as a main class for me. For obvious reasons. It didn't make the cut, but Enhancement is great, and I foresee great things in the future for Enhancement. It's just a little premonition, a little speculation. Probably around 11.1, maybe like that. We're probably going to have some fast stuff happening for Enhancement, maybe for Shaman as a tank spec. Well, not.
Don't give people hope, man. Don't do that. Come on.
All right. Next up is the kitty cat, Feral.
Oh boy. Okay, Feral. You can definitely put it into the alt department.
Okay.
I miss playing my Feral, and I did make a Feral Druid on the beta, and I tried it, and it's not bad. It just, I kind of miss some things about it. And you mentioned, you talked about it, when we're talking about the Assassination Rogue and the fact that, it's kind of lost that, priority damage, but also do some AoE all around. I still like the playstyle and the fantasy of Feral. See, whatever they do with it, if it's not terribly bad, like, broken, not playable, I'm still very much digging the whole, even though, let me be fair, bleeds are not that important anymore. I would love an iteration of Feral where bleeds will be the shit, and I know not everybody will agree with this. A lot of people love the ferocious bite. I love biting as a Feral.
Yeah, for sure.
But it feels like it's a lot more emphasis on ferocious bite more than the bleeds.
I think you'd be surprised how many people actually want Feral to go back to a bleed spec as opposed to just biting all the time, which seems like it's going to be the thing as well. For me, unfortunately, it's going to be a nah. It's going to be the top of the nah for now, because...
Why are you hating on Feral, Flame?
Druid is just in a terrible spot right now, and...
Don't you love pussy cats?
Maybe a little bit. But Feral just needs a massive revamp in terms of the spec tree, where you can actually have a duality between bleeds and bites. I don't have to be forced into one playstyle. I want to be able to choose, and I feel like a lot of the choice has been taken away. Don't get me wrong, Feral is still fun, and I enjoy my Wildstalker as much as the next guy, but I cannot feel like things have been taken away from me. So yeah, it's gonna
put it in now. You kitty cat hater. Yeah, he only loves dogs.
I'm a dog guy. Fire Maid.
Oh boy, are we gonna praise the spec again? Yeah, definitely. So I cannot put it on main, but it's as I put Arcane there, our Fire Mage, you can put that on top of my alt list for now.
Top of the alt. Ooh,
well, dude, I mean,
it's not a hard choice to make.
Yes, is there anything negative we can say about Fire? Sure, we can nitpick, but like, dude, come on, this spec is everything you want in an RPG game. I don't know. It fulfills everything. It fulfills if you're going to be like super big DPS, a super small DPS. It fulfills fantasy. It fulfills options. Not always good to say choosements.
Choosements is also a word because it says what you think it says.
All right, you go.
Well, it's obviously one of my mains, and this has been difficult because usually I am very sure about the spec that I will main from a class that I usually choose. For instance, when I mained Warrior, I knew I was going to go Arms and not Fury. This time, I don't know what the fuck to do because it is so fun. It has all of the stuff that Arcane doesn't, So it complements perfectly. If I want build variety and damage profile to be the choice that I want, execute damage, upfront burst or prolonged ignite, like everything is there for fire. Not to mention the visuals are just crazy, and everything that you loved about combustion is there. Everything that you didn't like about combustion, aka Sun King, can also go away, and you don't have to pick it. So you can just do everything, and I feel like that's just fun. It's really good.
Definitely one of the big winners of this expansion up until now.
Rounding up the mage spec, Frost.
Frost, also an alt. Yeah, it's like, again, same arguments. It's not as bombastic as Fire, but it holds its ground. And I feel sometimes when you played Frost back in, I don't know, Shadowlands, Dragonflight, whatever, sometimes it got a little bit boring. But listen, man, whenever they got back Glacial Spike, I was sold. I mean, regardless if there's a lot more things happening with Frost, we're not gonna like dissect every spec to its detail, but I feel all of the mage specs, including Frost, are definitely worth our time. So,
for sure.
Alt for me.
I have found something interesting is that I have fell in love with Frost in AoE, and as much as Arcane looks cool, I cannot help but enjoy Frost probably a little bit more than Arcane in AoE. I cannot see myself playing it a lot in raids, but it's definitely going to be a main contender for me. What they've done...
All mage specs are main contenders.
It's impossible, dude. Like, what they've done with the Coldest Snap and Frostfire playstyle, it's unbelievably fun. It's like taking the simplistic version of Fury and Red and just bunch them together. You have two simple playstyles, but it's a little bit more of the simple playstyle, and
meaty.
it's more procs, more instants, more big glacial spikes, a lot of meteors all over the place, and instant procs after shattering combos. And Coldest Snap is the coolest thing that Frost Mage can do. Going into a Comet Storm, Cone of Cold, Comet Storm, Freezing Orb, Blizzard, you just press instant AoE after instant AoE, and it all starts to pile up into this one big glorious...
What's not to love?
Glorious glacial empowerment. Great. Speaking of glacial,
Frost DK, am I smelling it? No. For me, it's a nah. I'm sorry.
This is... Oh.
Yeah. I know it's doing great right now on the beta, but as I've mentioned in previous wrap-ups, I believe, I want Frost to not make my brain rot. Like, I enjoy BM more. Well, I got bored of BM but anyways, but Frost, after 2 or 3 dungeons, it felt boring. This is what I feel like. So if you're gonna have a class like DKs, you're probably gonna want one of the specs to be a little bit, which is fine.
Sure.
For me, it wasn't that fun. If it's gonna be simple, it has to give me a lot more fun, as Red did back when it was reworked. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So this is what I'm thinking. I'm always comparing it to Red. I got bored of Red eventually, but I had way more fun than I had with Frost. So
I'm not sure if you've played all of the recent stuff, and Frost has some really interesting builds right now that I don't know if we're playing this right now, because it's still too early to tell exactly what the right way. However, Frost is an alt for me because playing Deathbringer with the Shattering Blade, I think, or Shattering Frost, one of the two, where you, I think, will probably have to tap target Frost strikes to do some really big bursty damage is really cool. Exterminate is really fun. It's not unholy. Still, it's a little bit more bland, a little bit more boring. It's definitely going to be an alt. Even if I main DK, it's probably still going to be an alt until they completely rework Breath of Sindragosa. Because I feel like what's more Frost Death Knight than summoning an Ice Dragon to blow on your enemies? But it has to be modernized, not the just keep it up type playstyle. And that's probably going to take a patch or two, since we haven't seen anything added to it except just a damage boost.
I agree. If Breath of Sindragosa will be the shiznit, I will definitely put it up there.
All right, Fury Warrior. I have changed my mind on this one, to be fair, lately.
I'm thinking about it. So nothing really stuck out for me, not positive, not negative. It felt more of the same. And I really didn't enjoy Fury that much in Dragonflight. It's a nah for me.
Nah. All right, cool. Putting into nah. So I have played, after months of being broken, the Slayer hero talent tree finally, which probably still has 1 or 2 bugs, but now it actually functions properly. It is way more enjoyable than I expected. Fury Warrior, I'm gonna be a little bit emotional here, but it actually made me feel, I'm gonna put it into alt.
Oh, no way.
It actually made me feel like there's a chance for Warrior to come back. Playing Fury Warrior in the Slayer and having super quick explosive blade storms into big executes that visibly accelerate your gameplay and do more and more damage. with the talent changes, being able to play Odin's Fury, and it does a lot of damage, and you proc a lot of Odin's Fury. Or even a Mountain Thane, where you just use big thunderclap. You feel like an Enhancement Shaman destroying the ground. That is, I have to give them props where props are due. However much I dislike arms, Fury is actually giving me a little bit of hope. It's not yet main contender because I want to be a main warrior again, but it's definitely giving me hope. So hopefully puts this some good energy out there in the world.
Yeah, hope is one thing we really hang on to. So
for sure.
Yeah. What
Bear.
Oh, definitely a main alt.
Oh really? Oh damn. Oh,
not a main alt.
A main alt. Yes, I'm putting it next to Feral.
Because Feral is right there, and I'm definitely going to try it out. And I always love Bear. Right, but I know it's fun. I know it's very like if you're gonna play Bear in the War Within, you're gonna be accustomed to like how it's always been, apart from where it was broken, right? So it's very reliable tank, very easy to play, very fun to play, and you know it's just basically all you knew about Bear but amplified up. So for me, it's definitely, if I'm going to play Feral, I'm definitely going to play some Bear.
You're going to enjoy Bear. I've enjoyed it more than I thought I would, considering that it has the Druid problem talent issues that we know. It has been the only tank that offered something that I really enjoy in a spec, which is diversity in playstyles. I felt like I can choose whatever hero talent tree I want, and then I will have to readjust my actual talents and playstyles and have access to the duality of being a physical Bear or a Guardian,
Galactic Guardian.
I'm looking to play a lot more tanks in the War Within, so I'm putting it in front of Blood DK because I just love...
You bastard!
Yes, it's Bear is kicking it. Bear is the saving grace for Druid for me.
I love Bear, but cannot put it in front of Blood DK. I'm sorry.
Yeah, is what it is, but we're going Havoc. Is Havoc gonna be in front of Blood DK?
Well, to be fair, I know Havoc is not looking that good so far, and I'm not talking about damage. I've seen Havoc do some damage, but the whole playstyle, the whole situation with Felskard and the Aldrach. I'm not really. Yeah. I'm not really digging it that much. It's not that I hate it, but because this is a huge list with all of the specs, I cannot really consider this.
To play everything.
I'm not considering
putting it in nah.
Yeah, it's nah.
All right, it's going to be in nah for me too. A little bit behind Feral. It's fine, and I don't want a spec. I don't want to play an alt of a spec that I think it's just fun. I want it to be a little bit more than just fine. If they could make Demonology and Diabolus Warlock so in tune with the visuals of demons, you kind of have to give me something similar for the Demon Hunter.
You have to.
Not just a little bit of extra fire and a little bit of an empowered glaive. Visuals are important for a spec that's as visual.
And visuals are important for us.
Yeah, no other spec is probably more dynamically visual than Havoc, because you just go all over the place. You're all over the place. You have demon wings. Give me something more. And I feel like they dropped the ball on this one.
All right. What's next, Flame?
Next up is Holy Paladin.
Holy Paladin, definitely a nah for me.
Okay.
Well, they removed the Glimmer, and I was in love with Glimmer.
I
know there's a lot of compensation for that, and I know all about the rework and stuff. But for me, the resurgence for Holy Paladin playstyle for me was in BFA with Glimmer. I haven't touched it up until that point. Like my last time was in Cataclysm, and I loved that playstyle, by the way. It's gonna take a while for Holy Paladin to become appealing to me once again, and I feel they still not hitting the mark on what they're trying to do there. Like, you can go Holy Melee Crusader Avenger, sure, but then you have to make this weird combo of throw some heals already. You either have to make it super viable on melee damage and Crusading, striking, and Holy Shotgun all around, but also make it viable as the range playstyle. I feel like both of these worlds will be hard to balance out. So no.
Yeah, I don't think that they're there yet as well. Although I was impressed, and Holy is for me a definite. All just behind Shaman. Paladin was very close to becoming a potential main as well, which is what the top of the alt tree essentially means for me. Yes, in terms of the actual functionality, it feels a little bit messy, feels like it's trying to do a lot of the things. However, I did have a lot of fun playing it. I definitely felt like a Paladin, and I don't know what it is, man. A little bit outside of the gameplay, I'm just loving Paladin.
You have a weird attraction to Holy Paladin, regardless how fucked up it is.
It's also, I don't know, with the whole theme of the War Within and the Arathor or Arathi, I keep mixing their names up. I just feel like I want to engage with the Paladin playstyle and the Paladin fantasy way more, and definitely Holy Paladin is probably the first healer that I'm going to end up playing.
Yeah, probably Ret Paladin is going to be a better choice for that fantasy.
We'll see. But Holy Priest.
Oh yeah, well, you know the Halo playstyle. You know you're gonna have to put that for me in alt section over there. It's gonna be somewhere on top of my alt list.
Okay.
Well, behind discipline, I would guess.
Just behind discipline.
Yes. So Holy doesn't really change that much in terms of its playstyle. You still have to like be very efficient with your big heals and your cooldowns for the big heals, the instant ones. It's kind of the same playstyle. However, when you go for the Oracle build and you play with the Halo stuff, well, I just fell in love when I saw that, and I think everybody saw that at this point. Yes, when you see that visual, and you know it's not the biggest ceiling, but if you have patience with it, and it goes on and goes on and goes on, it comes back, it goes out, it comes back, it goes out. It's going to deliver a lot of healing. So that the Oracle playstyle just adds on top of what you already, if you play Holy Priest, you already love.
Sure.
And I just found it really, really cool. It's not as easy as people think. There's a lot of buttons to play, and I think the most important thing about it is know how to use your cooldowns efficiently and when to use and what to use to reduce the cooldowns of those instant abilities, more or less.
Funny thing is, for me, Holy Priest is what you've said about Brewmaster, where it feels a little bit overwhelming at times. I actually like the fact that it's not as simple as it used to be. And it's also what you've said about Holy Paladin, where I feel like when I go into the Holy Priest, there's way too much stuff all over the place, which is great if it can be organized a little bit better. I want some identity. I want some, like, this is my miracle playstyle where I just play a lot of the holy words. This is my spam, the Lightweaver, which is what I play because my brain cannot handle anything more complicated. Just flash of light, heal, flash, heal, flash, heal. That's basically
part of it.
That's basically where I am, man. And I'm fine with it. I did have fun, and I'm probably still gonna be playing pretty much all specs throughout the expansion, but it's gonna go into because I just don't have time to go into it. And if I do have a little bit of time to play Priest, it's gonna be discipline, no hands down.
For sure. What's next?
Marksmanship Hunter.
Oh boy, I kind of liked it when I saw you play it. I know the problem with hero talents, and I know if they would put the teams of the ranger and
the problem with Hunter is that the rework is so good.
Yes,
and the hero talents are so shit.
So
man.
how do you choose this? Because this for BM I was like 100% on it just purely because of how it played. And it's a similar story.
The upside with marksmanship is that you can play Sentinel and actually have fun with a decent hero talent but be engaged in the explosive.
I won't have time to play marksman as well. So even though I love it and I see it like so cool, I'm gonna have to put it in not just because of time consideration. I already have BM on there. I'm probably gonna have survival as well.
Yeah. It's going to be the same with me. I'm gonna put it into it's doing well, but you're not going to sell me on marksmanship until you fix Dark Ranger, considering that we already had a whole expansion revolving around Sylvanas, where we got her ability. It became a button that you could use by using the bow, I believe, and then it actually became a button, and now that button has been taken away and made into aim shot, so it's a little bit weird. But then you have Dark Ranger that just interacts so little with the fantasy of Dark Ranger that it takes a little bit away. I did have a lot of fun. Its AoE is explosive. I love the volley, the salvo rotation, and the gameplay of explosive shot. That's really cool, but I feel like it's missing the mark a little bit, so it's gonna be an...
Kill it now. Although we love it.
Very much. Mistweaver.
Oh boy. I really always loved Mistweaver, but I'm gonna be one of the most hated people on the internet because I love the range playstyle. I never enjoyed the melee. I know the fantasies there. I know, and all the arguments. When I played it, I loved the range playstyle. So for me, it's gonna be a knock because it's not that viable.
Oh, fair enough. It's probably in the same icky situation as Holy Paladin, where I don't know if they can bind the two playstyles and make
them. They did it in BFA, man.
Well, to be fair, right now in Dragonflight, as the season 4 actually ended, but you still played a combination of both, which it's a fun playstyle, and I've enjoyed it myself, but it definitely feels like there's a lack of identity here. When you try to do a little bit of everything, you don't really have that, okay, I'm just actually fist weaving now, or I'm just hard casting now, and soothing mist and stuff like that, and I feel like that's missing as well. I did enjoy myself, but I'm gonna put it next to Holy Priest because it's the same kind of issues. Outlaw Rogue.
Oh, Outlaw Rogue. Well, apart from the killing spree situation, I dig Outlaw Rogue, and apart from like the hero talents, it's still, the gameplay is still really, really fun and explosive, and you basically is the Outlaw Rogue you love.
Right.
You know, the mechanics are still there, the cooldown reductions and everything. The super giga high APM, and if you want a spec that always keeps you on your toes, Outlaw is the spec. And I love that about it, and it's definitely a main for me. Not a main, an alt, sorry.
Where do I put it? In front of Priest? Behind Priest?
Behind Priest,
Behind Priest. Okay.
Because the hero talents are kind of and the killing spree situation.
Actually, that's a big dropping point for me as well. I really want to get into Outlaw. It would be my second Rogue choice. Is going to be a NAV for now, because Rogue just took a big dip for me. I've really much enjoyed the Outlaw version of Dragonflight, and I feel like you can still play it similarly in the World Within with...
You can play it definitely for sure.
I just found it way more difficult. I don't know if it's because we lost Shadow Dance, but way more difficult to play without add-ons and weak auras. And that actually made me enjoy it a little bit less. Like, I'm not gonna not play with weak auras, but feeling like, oh, I cannot play this without weak auras is kind of like a dropping point for me. And I don't get that with a lot of the other specs. And until that can make it not feel like I need to use that.
Next.
Hey, Preservation Evoker.
Nope, put it in now. Hey, same argument as Devastation for me. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, similar for me as well. I feel like it's fun. It does a lot of cool stuff.
And you mained Preservation in Dragonflight.
I did. I gave it my best shot. I put my best foot forward. I said, listen, I'm just gonna try it before making up my mind. I did enjoy it, and I feel like it's way better in the World Within gameplay-wise. But
I know
if
I'm
gonna judge visually, then it's gonna be.
It's a fun spec, and it's a very potent spec. We just hate the way it looks.
For sure. Prot Warrior.
Oh man, I loved Prot Warrior when I tried it out. And then you were absolutely right. You know, it's this like the primordial tank. Like, if you want to understand how tanking works, you play Prot Warrior and you get it. It felt right when I played it in Dragonflight for as small time as I did. But I'm not that sure about it in the World Within. I know you played a lot more, but judging by how they wanted to rework the warriors, and I wasn't really that convinced with the hero talents as of late. I'm not sure even if it's really good. Or listen, so even if it's really good, for me, Warrior is not something that will be on the table for now, because for me, my journey on Warrior starts with Arms, and if Arms is not where I want it to be, then the other two specs are not gonna make it. So put it in now for me.
Okay, similar for me as well. I really want to alt it. I'm actually gonna put it into alt just because I'm always gonna be playing a Warrior, and it's probably like the only Warrior spec that I will be enjoying. The problem is that they didn't change anything. I feel like it's on the cusp of receiving a rework as well, because it's the same spec that played throughout the entirety of Dragonflight with the exact same talents, the exact same things you take. They're changing a lot of the things for Prot Warrior, and it's likely going to be kind of similar to Enhancement, where you might see a proper rework, because without a proper rework, there's nothing you can do really to Prot Warrior to change it to make it feel fresh. And the hero talents are not that bad, but when you have Shaman, when you have Mage, when you have DK,
so many
it's a little bit behind. Tanks are going to be pretty high for me, just because they're tanks. So that's probably why it's making it into alt. Otherwise, it'll probably be a nah, because give me some new, man. Come on, it's been 4 years.
For sure. What's up?
Speaking of tanks, Prot Paladin.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, put it up there. Put it up there. Because,
how high do you want it?
How high? But it's pretty high on the list.
I'll put it next to alt.
Pretty high on the list. Prot Paladin was always Paladin as a whole, except Holy, was always a great option. And I feel Prot Paladin is still one of the better tanks to play. It still retains that Swiss Army knife feeling, like you have some response for any situation, which I still love about it, by the way. The damage is there, healing is nerfed, but I still feel it's gonna do really good. So I cannot really put it anywhere or not put it into an alt, because Avenger Shield, always, for life.
Yeah, Prot Paladin is my absolute favorite tank to play in the War Within is going to go all the way to the top of my alt tree, just behind Shaman, just next to Holy Paladin. I mean, Shaman and Paladin are interchangeable. I don't view one more than the other. It's definitely going to be my second or third alt that I level for sure. Even if they're trying so hard to kill Prot Paladin right now, I still feel like it just does the fantasy right. If you like the like you said, it's the primordial version of Warrior. It's not as primordial, but it's more fun. It's like the next
flashy.
step. The next step. You have a shield. You put your shield up. You take reduced damage from spells. You protect your party. This is you want to be a shield tank, but you can also protect your party. Pick the Prot Paladin. Plus, gameplay-wise, it's the most fun tank to play.
Very juicy, very rewarding.
I feel like it's just a victim of bad design, and that says a lot. That even with the bad design,
you still love it.
So good. That's probably why it's all the way up here.
Yeah.
Resto Shaman.
Oh boy, Resto Shaman. I won't have time for it. So again, same argument. If I'm going to play Shaman spec, it's going to be elemental. And due to all of the specs currently, well, at some point, I'm probably going to give it a shot since I haven't played Resto Shaman in years. But currently, I'm putting it into nah just due to the elemental option.
Similar discussion to the Paladin and the Shaman is going to be up the top of my alt tree because I actually enjoyed the changes to Restoration Shaman. It's the best Shaman rework. Probably it's up there with Elemental. They're doing really great things. They're making a simple heal spec be simple and still be great and have some underlying depth to it. That's how you make simple fun and not make it, like you said, mind rotting like Frost Decay.
Yeah, brain rotting.
Brain rotting,
Mind rotting is, I think about mind freezing, but that's for Mage. We're going all over the places here, man.
Yeah, Shaman is definitely one of the winner classes in the War Within for me, so it's gonna be up there.
What's next then?
Resto Druid.
Resto Druid. Oh boy, yeah, definitely an alt because I always love healing on Resto Druid. I know I had a bad time in the War Within, but it got recently it's gotten better for sure. Again, it's a very similar story with Discipline Priest for me in terms of Resto Shaman because Resto Shaman is one of those types of healers that you prep for, right? You ramp well, you don't really ramp, but you have to like prepare your dots when shit hits the fence. And I kind of like that about healers, that makes you have to learn the dungeons or the raids or whatever.
Strategic.
Yes, it's an element of strategy there in prepping up. So definitely that fantasy is still being fulfilled. I'm putting it into the alt.
I am having a big difficulty trying to rank Resto Druid for me as well because I also love it for pretty much the same reasons. Plus, it's also a Druid, and Druid is one of my all-time favorite classes. But they're dropping the ball consistently with the hero talents are okay. Maybe if I play a lot of the Keeper of the Grove, I can enjoy casting trees. I am not a big fan of letting the fate of my party rely on some pets. I mean, that's fun. You don't rely too much on them. What matters is what happens when you press the tree. Sure, I get that. I love cat weaving, and I love that they bring that back with Wall Soccer. I just don't have the time to play it. And until they rework Druid completely, it's gonna be a nah for me, even though it pains me to put it that way.
Nah. Next.
Speaking of Ret Paladin.
No, Ret Paladin is in the main category, put in for my end over there. Just because I've seen...
Main category?
Yes. It's in the main category because I've seen some of the change... the changes are not that big, okay, with the whole expurgation thing. But that is a change in direction I love. And I feel that would... If they keep on that, they could potentially make Ret Paladin... not super complicated, but I always said it definitely needs a little bit something to have, just
a plate or two to spin. More.
Yes, more or less. Yeah. So the rework was great. I still enjoyed to the bone. I'm like the Ret Paladin main for life, and it's going to become a main contender just because I've seen what they did with the changes, and I like the direction. Okay. Hero talents aside, really good. I love it.
I definitely agree. That's part. I'm gonna put it in the alt section next to the other Paladin specs because I just love all Paladin specs.
Hey!
It is missing a little bit, like what you said as well. I like the direction they're going. I'm still iffy about Divine Hammer because I feel like that's probably one of the coolest things that they've added, but I think they're just ignoring it on purpose because they don't know what to do with it because it's such anti-synergy with the rest of your playstyle because it's eating holy power, and pretty much all the changes that they did seem to want you to really think about what to spend holy power on, and it doesn't feel like Divine Hammer is that. I feel like if they can turn this into an actual playstyle, it's gonna be a main contender for me as well, where you have this duality of like spending big holy powers on Templar's Verdict or Divine Storm, or just being a hammered in all over the place. It risks being similar to Frost DK's Breath of Sindragosa, but I'm sure we're not gonna have a second Breath of Sindragosa.
Well, you never know, baby. You never know.
Never say never. Shadow Priest.
Shadow Priest. Oh boy. I have to put it in now because I'm already gonna play the two specs. There's not gonna be time for Shadow Priest. Although I so want to play it. I'm not gonna have the time.
Yeah, it's exactly the same for me as well. It's been similar to Discipline. I have half of the Shadow Priest I love, half of the Shadow Priest I don't love. The way I love Void Weaver and don't like Oracle. I feel like they're leaning very heavily into the Void theme of Shadow, and that's really great. The Entropic Rift is really fun to play. Archon is fine on Shadow. It's obviously more impactful on Holy, visually and thematically. Having a Shadow version of I felt like Archon would have probably made more sense for Discipline than Shadow, but whatever. I'm still waiting for them to actually make me want to play AoE rather than just play single target and just do AoE as a byproduct. That's a little bit boring. I miss mines here. We'll see how that plays out.
Sorry.
Subtlety Rogue.
Main contender.
Main contender.
Yeah. It's the rogue spec I always loved and always wanted to play. And although I'm very aware of the bugs and the fact that a lot of things do not work properly, I played it on the beta and I loved it. It's still the fact that I get to be again the Shadow Dance Master, and not all rogue specs have that. And
that's the thing.
All due respect, I feel like its identity is back now.
It's definitely just a subtlety thing.
Yeah, it's 100%. And again, I always love subtlety. It's not the playstyle. It's not that different from what you have right now in Dragonflight. There's a couple of things. If you play Trickster, you're gonna have a different because you're not gonna use AOE abilities in AOE. You're gonna use a single target, and that's
is that how it's played?
Yes.
I haven't dove.
Yeah, and that's very interesting and different. So that's one hero talent that will change your playstyle in AOE. But it's very buggy. There's still a lot of things not working, so we cannot really call for sure. But subtlety, I love it to the bone. It has to be a main for me.
You know what? Considering that this is the first time we're doing a duo tier list, and we're really wanting to do this because we have different opinions on different specs, as you can probably see right now. But it's funny to see how we see things very similarly, because Subtlety is the only rogue that's going to be an alt for me, and I'm going to put it all the way in front of all of the Warlock specs.
Oh, wait, did you play it?
Oh, I love Subtlety, dude. I've made Subtlety in Amir Drusil. I love Secret Technique. I love the combo building with Dance Macabre. I feel like Subtlety is one of the perfect specs that gives you the building up to a big payoff moment, which is the Secret Technique buffed just right, and min-maxing that feels really great. I'm a little bit bummed that they nerfed Shadow Dust, which was part of the reason why I also love Sub, because you had control over how you manage your cooldowns, and you readjust when they come back off cooldown, and you adjust the combat to the playstyle, to the number of packs that you do, to the boss phases. I feel like having that freedom, that strategic freedom, was really cool. You probably still have it, but Rogue definitely suffers from the hero talents for me, which is not going to be main choice, but Subtlety just keeps it into all, despite all the negative stuff about Rogue.
Beautiful.
Survival Hunter.
Oh my, I have to put it into alt because of the rework, and I always love Survival Hunter. Out of all the 3 Hunter specs, Survival is always my go-to just because it felt different, and this started back in Legion. And then it really got bumped up in BFA. I really played a lot of it in BFA, and then it started to die off, Shadowlands and Dragonflight, and not really. But with the rework, everything that's happening there, it feels checkmark this, checkmark that, checkmark this, checkmark that. Sure. Everything looks in place. So yeah, I know I said you have to put it in front of BM because...
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so yeah, definitely 100% an alt for me.
I have had a love-hate relationship with Survival over the years, as you may have seen on this channel. But they are doing a really good stuff with Survival. It's not quite main contender for me yet, but it's definitely an alt, and it's definitely in front of also the Warlock specs. It's right next to Subtlety for me. Ooh. In terms of fun. They added the complexity that I like. I feel like they're still not evolving the full identity that a Survival Hunter can have, but it's a big upgrade from what we have right now in Dragonflight, where you have bomb fantasy, you have bleed fantasy, you have poison fantasy, and they're still probably like back and forth with how exactly the full rework is going to be, considering that they've interchanged flanking strike for like in a 3-week process. They'd had like 2 versions, and I feel like they're not done yet, but I don't know if they have time to finalize it before the expansion launches, which is why it's an alt. but likely throughout the War Within is going to change drastically.
I love it. We shall play it.
Unholy.
Unholy, well, what do you know? It was my main a lot of times in Dragonflight, and you have to put it into main category.
Yeah, put it in front of everything, I suppose.
It's probably the biggest winner so far. It has the most arguments for me. Well, first of all, I'm very accustomed to it, and the playstyle is getting a little bit more streamlined. It's not as restrictive as before, which some people may agree that it's fine. Some people may disagree. I think it's fine because you still have your resource management, not as prevalent, but you still have to use it. The fantasy of Unholy, you cannot beat for me. Especially because they put in Abomination, which used to be a PvP talent. Like when you get that big boy out there, and if you play Rite of the Apocalypse as well, like I don't know how to put it. If there was ever a dark fantasy to be fulfilled in this game, for me, that's Unholy Dead Knight. It so takes the marks on everything, and I love the playstyle of it, and I like it wasn't a rework, but you know, the revamp, shorter changes to the talents, plus the hero talents. It's, for me, it kind of makes everything tick. So it has to be a main contender.
It's very, very hard to debate that. For me, it's definitely going to be an alt, the altest of the DK specs for sure.
Altest?
Is the most altest of them all. It has almost everything that I want. It's very close. It was close to being a main for me as well. We would have been both Unholy DKs. But I do have to put it where it is right now. I feel like I still don't want to be stuck into Unholy Frenzy by default, and that's kind of like the only really negative thing, just to be kind of devil's advocate. But everything else is just so good,
It's delicious.
Everything you love about Arthas and Death Knights in World of Warcraft, everything you love about necromantic magic is there. You either summon big armies of ghouls, you either summon a big fat ghoul, or you summon gargoyles, or dead champions of the past to follow you in combat.
Cool.
The Unholy just does it. I think it's great.
Yeah, it deserves the spot as the main for anyone's list.
Vengeance Demon Hunter.
Vengeance Demon Hunter, boy, put it in not because I won't have the time. I loved it as a tank, but
time constraints for sure.
I cannot get enough time to play it. I did play it in Dragonflight. I loved it. I always loved the playstyle, jumping all around, throwing. Yeah, it's hard not to love. But again, this is another spec that I wouldn't put it in my alt options just because of time constraints.
As I've said before, all tanks are pretty much going to be an alt for me at this point. It's going to be a little bit closer to the bottom of the list, maybe in front of Warrior. I don't know. We're going to keep it right there. I feel like it's on a good direction of being a more balanced spec, considering that it got chunked really hard coming from Dragonflight. However, it probably got chunked a little bit too much because, as it sometimes happens with the devs, when they nerf, they double nerf some of the issues, so now it's doubly bad in certain areas.
Doubly!
It's not that terrible, so I don't want people to take this out of context, but the hero talents actually improve Vengeance in a way that I didn't think they would, and they make it... I actually like playing the hero talents for Vengeance way more than I did for Havoc, which is weird, but that's also why it stays in my alt category.
Beautiful.
Windwalker.
Definitely a main contender. If there's one melee spec that has been fixed, corrected, and pretty much thrown love at in every department, that has to be Windwalker. I don't know, man. It's because I played it on the beta, and it fixed every issue that I think Windwalker had during these years, because there was always something there. I mean, dude, just having like a million blackout kicks and like I don't know where could you like fulfill the fantasy, because we're talking a lot about fantasy. Unholy is pure fantasy, and it takes it. Windwalker is the same thing, but it's also very viable to play and mechanically is great. So I know the conduit of the celestial thing is like what currently on beta is the performer, but I really want to play Shadowpan.
Oh, I think you're gonna enjoy it. It's one of those reworks where they're so good on their own, you're not even gonna care if the hero talents are good or not. That's how Windwalker.
That's how it felt. Yeah. So it's definitely a main contender.
It's definitely an alt for me. It was close to being a main contender as well. I'm going to put it in front of Death Knight because I do feel like this is the proper way to do a rework, where you take, this cool spell. How about we make it double cool, where you can do 2 more extra things depending on what you want. Whirling Dragon Punch, of course. You still have Feline Stomp, which is whatever. That's probably on its way out. I think it's had its time in the sun.
Get the fuck out.
But after playing, and this has a big impact as to why I'm enjoying Windwalker way more, because I always thought it was a good spec, but I always kind of ranked it pretty low. But playing WoW Remix kind of made me fell in love with the monk fantasy, the
world
fantasy.
it's coming from.
Yeah, it's like where all that fantasy is. It kind of okay. Now it has a place in World of Warcraft, and it made me feel and now I get Terran Zoo, and get
it also has a place in your heart now.
For sure, and I loved every bit of Windwalker playstyle, despite sometimes the hero towns being a little bit of a drawback.
It's a beautiful spec, man. But this kind of wraps it up, right?
Almost. You want it to be wrapped up, but there's one more spec that's you know the bard thing that you always wanted to
Augmentation. All right. So for me, out of all of the Evoker specs, this was the one true love, because I love the concept of a quote-unquote support spec, and I know the playstyle is pretty cool, and I so want to play it, man. Believe me, I really want to play. I even made a goddamn augmentation on live and try to level it, and I hated it.
You saw it in your selection screen, and like, fuck.
Yeah, it's hard. So if it weren't for the visuals, this would be a main contender for me.
Whoa!
Yeah, it would have been, but
So
it will have to go to Na, because
I'll put it in the top of the list for Na. Then.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's man,
I do get you, man. Like they are doing the mechanical part of the support really cool, and adding it into the black magic for the dragons and the time magic for the dragons. The concept is really cool. Yeah. It's tied to an unfortunate design. As much as I would have loved to see the black dragon be a tank and not a support spec, I did enjoy my time, but it's going to be an F for me as well, around Devastation-ish. It's fun. I do feel like it has a strong impact on the game and the meta, and that you cannot really ignore that too much. But I don't really care. It was enjoyable, but they need to add more meat on the bones.
Yeah, but this is the final list. It's basically an hour-long video, and if you want to watch a shorter video, you can check out the most fun tanks right here on Marcelian Online. Thank you for watching. Say some flame.
See you next time, everybody. See you in the world within.
Bye.